Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Wizards podcast. It's your hosts, Ed Oliver and Dealante Daniels. We have a special guest, Erin Soroka from Sports 5, NBA analyst here to talk about Deni. But before we get started, I just want to thank you guys for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. Also, I just want to make sure you guys check out PrizePicks. Check out PrizePicks.com and use promo code NBA to go to your app store and download the app today. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. Aaron, how you feeling today, man?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. I love your pod. I love following the Wizards, of broadcasting the Wizards games. It's been a pleasure. Thank you again for the opportunity.
Definitely. So let's get it started. So I just want to get your thoughts on the Washington Wizards team as a whole. What did you think about the moves they made at the trade deadline? And then how did you feel about Deni? Was there any concern that he was going to be traded, or was there any rumors coming out from you guys?
Actually, there were, the rumors about being traded for Jeremy Grant, being traded for Sabonis after Sabonis was traded to the Kings. Actually, it was okay, he's not going to be traded. And actually, we have our own podcast, the Sim NBA, live on the trade deadline. And then we heard about Porzingis is going to Washington. And we said, in the beginning, we said, can we be actually disappointed that Deni is not going to play with Luka Doncic? Because we really wanted to see him in the playoffs, and it was pretty sure to see that they're not going to make the playoffs. But actually, it obviously became the best opportunity he's ever had, this third of a season. And I think that given the horrible month that they had, before, ironically, just when they had the whole team, the decision to part with some players that were reportedly not the most loved ones in the locker room sounds logical. Actually, the Bradley Beal injury was kind of a catalyst to do that. After weeks of overcrowded rotation, it was quite clear that this team is not probably going, to make the playoff. This is not going to end well. And by bringing in Porzingis and shedding all those players, they signaled to Beal, first of all, that he's have the big man he never played with. And by bringing back Ish Smith, they got the locker room elder statesman, which is never a bad thing, especially considering the lack of leadership this team had. However, I think that if you do embrace the tank, just roll with it. I'm not saying that the Wizards should go full trailblazers right now. That they look like they covet. The Wizards are coveting the number 9 pick or the number 11 pick, which is a strange thing to do. Why do you need 3 veteran point guards when none of them can lead a team and none of them even have a guaranteed contract for next season? Why do you need to have both Neto and Ish and Satoransky? Maybe the youngsters need some veteran leadership. That's fine. That's understood. But they also need the ball. And when two of those point guards are going on for combined 4 for 20, either they don't stick to the game plan or the game plan was not working to begin with. So while the main focus should be, to get the Shepherds trio of draft picks as much burn as possible, we get veterans, a lot of time veterans who play for the next contract, probably somewhere else. And let's go, for the craziest scenario, DNA. Okay, let's say that Porzingis is returning to an all-star form and they do sneak into the play. Let's go even further. Let's say they catch a break versus the Hornets or the Hawks and get the 8th spot, all right? Can they win a game against the Heat or Sixers? Does it even matter the long-term plans of Bradley Beal, who can get quadrillion dollars from the Wizards? Is it better than to try to have a worse record than teams who actually want to get into the play-in, even if not good at it, like the Kings or the Lakers or the Spurs? As it currently stands, they just don't play well enough to be in the play-in and don't play badly enough to get a lottery pick. So when you choose a direction, it's good, but then when you don't follow this direction fully, it just sounds strange.
Yeah, definitely. I know before the trade deadline, Deni, he had a DNP against the Sixers, and I
almost
remember
DNP.
Almost DNP.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to mention it later. Yeah. Okay.
Right, and that was right before the trade deadline. That's when the rumors about Jeremy Grant, Sabonis, and all that stuff was going on. I know it was a time where you guys were, because I know you guys are different in a different time zone. I know you guys were disappointed that Denny didn't play that game. But yeah, your perspective on Ish and Neto and Tomas is interesting. I agree with that too, because I didn't really see the reason of bringing back Tomas, but Tomas is starting to play really really well. As far as the trade deadline, I do like the move with Porzingis, and I do see that Denny and Porzingis, I think they can potentially play pretty well as they did the alley oop together. So I kind of I definitely like the moves they made at the deadline, moving on from Dinwiddie, moving on from Bertans, getting some of the locker room guys out of there. And I do think Denny does have somewhat of a better, more of a role, like you said, Bradley Beal being out for the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm.
It gives him more playing time to develop and see what he can do out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and sorry, D.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say that I agree with the Bill injury and that opening the door up and the trade deadline in general, because I always felt like it was hard for guys to get into any kind of groove playing 11 minutes, 15 minutes, because 10, 11 guys were playing. And this kind of leads into my next question as well about Denny's fit. And in comparison to last season, I know he got hurt. We were just talking about the playoffs, and he got injured, so he wasn't able to play in that 76er series. But I wanted to ask you do you like him more off the bench, or do you want to see him starting? I know I personally like him off the bench. He's getting 30 minutes now a game, which is what I wanted to see. And I feel like he's a little more comfortable coming off of the bench, and he still makes a big impact.
Yeah, the current situation, I agree. It's the best probably that Danny's ever had. Not because of the team status, because he was brought there to win games and to compete right away, but because after a season and a half, that's the first time that he's having the freedom to create. Like not entirely yet, because sometimes the ball handlers don't think it's a good idea to pass in the ball, and the ball doesn't move at all. But I mean, the ball does move. They are ranked in the top third in assists and assist ratio, but a lot of the plays are just a two-man game. They have like only 2.8 secondary assists per game, which is one of the worst marks in the league today. So when the ball is flying around, it's beautiful, and then he can really create havoc when there's a team game. And Kispert gets great looks, and the game is beautiful. But as I'm agreeing with Satoransky, I think that Satoransky is the most fitting point guard to play next to Deni. But then you don't need to have both Neto and Ish Smith. And anyway, in any case, it's much better than the Russ Bill heavy attack of the Brooks era, because it's better for him also than the times when Dinwiddie and Bill were running the offense, but because both of them are not like passing first point guards. And it's a rare situation when Deni does get to make plays a lot. I think he shows strides, and people see why the Wizards loved his potential in this field. Like he has, for example, this fantastic cross-court pass to KCP to secure the game against the Pistons. And one time in a game I broadcasting, he got the ball twice in the post in the same quarter and made like a bounce pass to a cutting Bradley Beal to the basket. So he does shows glimpses and more glimpses lately of creativity, of trying different things. Like he has like the he can make mistakes without being like harshly judged and completely related to the bench for 5 minutes afterwards.
Yeah, I agree with that. The longer leash, not having to worry about being sat down. And I know last season when Deni Avdija was starting, I felt Deni was playing well. And then Scott Brooks benched him for Davis Bertans, and he used the term he wanted him to get activated, I believe, when Davis Bertans were struggling. And I didn't understand that move. And I felt like Denny's confidence kind of wavered a little bit. And even this season, he's had stretches where his confidence is a little low. He's missing some threes, etc. But I feel like for any young player, that confidence is key. Having that trust in your coach, that if you can make mistakes and not be put on the bench, you can get that 30 minutes a game, be in closing lineups, make important plays. That's all very good for a young player's confidence and their ability to grow as a player.
That's for sure. Yeah, as you said, like having the ball in his hand is so crucial to his development, especially when last season he was not only a rookie, he was a rookie without a proper pre-draft work, without because of the COVID.
COVID.
Like he was drafted, and less than a month later, he was inserted into the starting lineup of a team he never played with. Most of the time you're drafted, you play the summer league. You have this year, you also missed the summer league because of the injury. So this year's preparation wasn't good as well. So a lot of times, a lot of things that people are mostly working on during summer. Also, the summer was crumbed during summer leagues, during preseason. He didn't have it. He just started everything, even this season, too late to fix it. And we see things that he's fixing this season, like during the season.
Definitely. Yeah. So we do want to get into some of the strengths and weaknesses that you've seen from Deni this season. But before we do get to that, we have a quick word from Prize Picks. All right, NBA fans, are you looking for a daily fantasy option for the NBA? Then you need to try the award-winning app Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. I love this, and we know you will too. This is how you do it. You pick 2 to 5 players and an over/under on their projections, and you can win up to 10 times on any entry, and it's just you versus the projected numbers. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. Prize Picks is safe and offers fast withdrawals. Use the award-winning app on both the App Store and Google Play. Prize Picks offers any prop you can think of, from points scored to rebounds or even steals. Prize Picks allows mixed sports entries. You can take the over on Kyle Kuzma's rebounds or the under on Reggie Jackson's 3-pointers made for the game tomorrow night. And Prize Picks doesn't just offer NBA. They have options in college basketball, football, NFL, MLB, soccer, MMA, and more. For a limited time, Prize Picks has an exclusive no-brainer of an offer for all of our users. Users get $50 for free if a player in your first Prize Picks entry scores a single point, but you must use code NBA. The code is NBA. That's right. This is an exclusive offer available to Locked On fans. Sign up today and use code NBA, $50 for free if a player in your first Prize Picks entry scores a single point. Also, thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Now NBA podcast. Nightly recaps of every NBA game with analysis from our local experts. It's free and available wherever you get podcasts. All right, Erin. So what strengths have you seen from Deni so far this season? What were some weaknesses, some things you want to see him work on?
Yeah, so first of all, you already mentioned the self-confidence. And this was always an issue for Deni, because in a team that is both needing to win and not talented enough to win, substantially, there was the issue of him getting kicked out of games after a mistake or something just out of the blue. This season, for example, I think in the Suns game, he had like a really good move. Like he stole the ball from Chris Paul, and then the next time he's just relegated to the bench again. Maybe Ansel Jr. Came, with the rotations just to the game, and he decided that no matter what, he's following the rotation, and this is not good for the confidence of a player when he's doing something good for the team, for himself, for the team. Most of the times it's the same. He just needs to get like more run, like to build on this confidence, because a lot of times he has slow starts, both for stints and for the games. And I think now that he's freed in a way, in his body language, we see less and less Deni's mad about himself moments, and more of a shooter mentality when he can start 0 for 5 and still continue shooting. And mentally, that's a huge progress comparing to early days, especially in the Brooks era, but also under West in some weeks that we saw him like completely disappearing. His 3-point stroke is still streaky a bit, but against less of an issue, in my opinion. He tended to have like month when he's shooting the lights out, and then month when he's just shooting the ball out. And it's happening less, I think. Now he still have like more of a game-to-game streakiness, or like even quarter-to-quarter. He did have at least 1 3-pointer in 13 or 14 games lately. And maybe the biggest point of actual improvement is free throw percentage, which also leads to less of a problem in crunch time situations, because you don't have if you're shooting like 60 or 70% from the free throw, you're not going to be on the court in the waning moments of the game. But now that he's shooting like 90% since the beginning of the 2022. So it's less an issue, and it's great because also this is a mental thing. He is known to have a crazy work ethic. He is not only an Israeli, but also a son of a former Serbian father, which was famously tough on him to the degree that, I don't know if you know, but there's a character of him, like the father, Zufer, in the biggest satirical show in Israel called Eretz Nederet, where he's like the crazy like trainer that the kid is eating rubble, and that's the way he's getting to the NBA, and like he's being mocked, but like in a good reason. So then he got that working, and that work ethic for him, and even if you take the amount of times when he's finishing with the left now, compared to the beginning of the season, I think that there's much more versatility in his finishes. Like he's not finishing one time he finishes with the backboard, one time he's finishing like the dunk, one time in the left, one time in the right, one time around the player, one time like above a player. So he has like much more versatility. There is the issue of finishing around the basket, which I believe we'll discuss later. I think that defensively he's still very good, not like the first team All NBA, all defense that I don't ever think it was a problem, an opportunity. But I did check, and like out of 166 players that defended at least 500 field goals this season, Deni ranked 18 in the percentage of the people shoot against him, like 42.8, I think, which is pretty good, like the 90th percentile. So he is getting scored on because this is the NBA and the most talented players in the world. But most of the times he's getting great closeouts. He's getting great, verticality. He has like active hands when he can strip the ball from a penetrating player or from a post-up player and lead to a fast break in the other place. He does have like one time against the Hawks, for example, he was stuck like guarding two players, Capella under the basket and Bogdanovic on the wing on the three-pointer. So he couldn't like cover both. So he stayed with Capella and Bogdanovic got a three, but it's not like his fault. It's more of a team thing. I think he is actually playing next to Montrezl Harrell. I think we saw his best defense because Harrell is not a good defender. But next to Avdija, because Avdija could neutralize players on one-on-one, Harrell could Harrell's qualities as a help defender were more visible, I think. And now he's not having like the same chemistry with Bryant, which is even a lesser defender than Harrell. I know it's tough, but even a lesser defender than Harrell. And next to Gafford, there's not enough offense. So I really intrigued to see him and Porzingis play 4 and 5 together. And I think that he is, and Kuzma, when they're playing like 4 and 5, some kind of switchy forward tandem, that looks good. And also Kuzma, I think, mentioned that he loves this combination also with Hachimura. So I'd like to see more of that, but defensively he's pretty good.
Yeah, definitely one of his strengths was his defense, throwing up the clamps in the beginning of the year. I do like the point with him. I do like the point with him and Porzingis. I think they're going to be a really good match. I think that alley-oop is definitely a sign of good things to come. Offensively, he just a whole as the team, they've been better shooting the three since, we got smaller guards like Ish can push the pace, Neto can push the pace a little bit, Tomas push the pace. But yeah, we're going to talk about him finishing around the rim, which I love where he tried to dunk the ball against the Pacers. So I do want to see more of that, but. As long as he gets to play more, that's where he can work on his game. So just, getting the shooting down, some of the ball handling down, dribbling with his left hand, finishing with his left hand is some of the things we definitely want to see him work on.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So, I'm sorry. Did you have anything else to say? Okay. Our next question that we had for you was a little bit of a ceiling question. We've talked about it before. What do you see Deni Avdija ceiling as in the NBA? And is there a player that you kind of compare him to?
I think that he can be a pretty special player, not in the meaning of, like an all-star, but a player that you want on your side when you're building a very good team, a contender team. A winning player that can block a crucial shot, advance the ball, and find an open shooter in his pocket all within the span of 5 seconds. there were lots of comparisons. Actually, Omri Caspi is a compatriot and other Israeli in the NBA. First of all, said Hido Turkoglu. I thought he's going to be more of a Joe Ingles-like player, but actually, I think Deni, on the one hand, he's already better than Ingles in defending the paint. They're also like he's longer and like higher than Ingles. On the other side, he's not quite yet even close to the shooter that Ingles is, or maybe was. I hope still is. I love Ingles. We don't even know like what's the best position of Deni. He's like something between 2 and 4 with the ability to guard both 1s and 5s. So maybe I think that this version of Deni is like maybe resembles some kind of Jaden McDaniels. Maybe, probably, but with better ball handling. So kind of this one, like you know, you don't have to have a defined position, but I think like the versatile forward defender, forward and secondary playmaker. So it's kind of like I think maybe kind of a Jaden McDaniels now. Defensively, he's developing to be every bit of the versatile menace. We hope he would be. But offensively, I think that's the jury is still out at them. We do see the potential even more vividly lately. Just being aggressive for longer strides during games, avoiding mostly trying to avoid the 3-4 minute strides when he's not involved in the offense at all. Even this one, if he improved that, like instead of 3-4 minutes like that, he had like 1-2 minutes, and then he takes control and he's trying to push things and trying to take more on that, because in this area he still lacks a bit. Maybe it's an age issue, maybe it's a developmental issue, but I think it's also improving, not drastically but gradually, and then that can bring his number up and can bring the expectations as well.
Yeah, when I spoke about Deni Avdija's ceiling, I agree with you. I feel like on a very good contending team, a playoff team, he can be one of those really good contributors who can, like you said, make a block at a clutch moment. I didn't know about All-Star or anything like that, but I think being a really good role player, for example, Jay Crowder on the Phoenix Suns, he's a very good role player on a very good contending team who makes clutch plays. That I can see Deni Avdija becoming that player, and it's hard to put like just a permanent ceiling on him because he's young and he's still developing. We were going to talk about the finishing next question, and it's always an evolving thing with a young guy, because next season he can have a big jump and that changes his ceiling and that player comparison. So I agree with you though on the being a very good piece on a contending playoff team. I 100% agree with that. Ed, what about you?
Definitely, yeah. We made the same video. We answered the same question, and we got a lot of backlash for our answer. I think some people
for the
do
Jay Crowder one, or for what?
It was about his ceiling. Somebody asked us a question about it, and we basically said the same thing you were saying. It's hard to become an all-star. I think some people get upset if we don't say that Deni's going to be a Luka Doncic kind of player, which I think they're two totally different guys. But I think Deni can be like a Tony Kukoc or Hido Turkoglu, and those guys have really Andre Kirilenko. Andre Kirilenko was really known for his defense as well, and just be a really good passer, a primary, secondary ball handler. And I think that would be a really good scenario for Deni, a legitimate starter on a playoff contender, a championship contender. That's the ceiling I see for him. Now, he could surprise and become an all-star if he gets a bigger role, but it's just yet to be seen. We do want to see some more development from him, but we think he's starting to get more confident with more playing time.
Yeah, definitely. Jay Crowder, maybe I thought also about DeAndre Hunter in a way, which is also like a pretty good thing to aspire to be, because Hunter is also like similarly to Trae Young. That's like Deni similarly can be like Bradley Beal's bodyguard in the kind of like to cover for the team star's miscues.
Yeah, well, 100%. I definitely agree with you there. But before we get to our next question, we do have a message from our friends over at Built Bar. Have you tried the Puffs? If you haven't, you're missing out on one of Built Bar's best tasting bars. Puffs are the first ever protein-infused marshmallow. They're fluffy, they're marshmallowy. They're not just a protein bar, they're a treat, and they're covered in 100% real chocolate. Puffs are a fan favorite with some incredible flavors: yummy cinnamony churro, coconut marshmallow, banana cream pie. So good, these are going to be your new favorite. All Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate. Yes, Puffs included. 100% real chocolate. Low calorie, high protein. Replace your candy bars with these. They are better. A typical candy bar can be anywhere from 2 to 300 calories. Go to built.com and scroll down to the macros chart. You'll be blown away. High protein, low calorie, high fiber, low carbs. Most Built Bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a candy bar, which usually has around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. Mint brownie, coconut, coconut almond, and new for this month, white chocolate cookies and cream. They are all delicious, and new flavors are coming out all the time. If they think a flavor might be good, they'll make it. It will be delicious, and it will be good for you. The offer is to go to built.com, use promo code LOCKED15, and get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. So, Ed, let's get right into it.
So, one of the weaknesses we talked about Deni, sometimes he has, missed a couple of layups here and missed some dunks. So what do you see that Deni can improve on to do? What do you see him that he can do to improve on finishing around the rim?
Yeah, I'm not a basketball coach. Like, I'm not also a former player. I'm like 5'6", I think. But there is actually a basketball coach called Zvika Sherf. He was also the coach of the national team, coach of Maccabi Tel Aviv. And I asked him one time when we talked about it on radio, and he said, just jump 20 centimeters, like, I don't know, says 8 inches closer to the basket. Maybe it's that simple. I think that it's like, I think he works so much on being ambidextrous and finishing creatively that he thinks to overthink and overcomplicate things. Like, he doesn't have a clear go-to move yet. And that makes him like trying different things. Also, the freedom that we talked about. So for the first time, he knows that if he is going to try something different, he won't be kicked to the bench. And that's also leading to him trying more things, and we're trying more things for the first time against like players like Jakob Pertl or Isaiah Jackson. So or Isaiah Stewart, you have like a decent chance of getting blocked or getting contested, and then just missing the shot. And I think that as we said against the Pacers, just dunk the ball, man. You have long hands. You have like big hands, you have long arms. Just try to dunk the ball, take it hard to the rim. Stop being the nice, smiley kid. And in the words of the soon-to-be winningest coach in the NBA, give me some nasty. Start being some like more nasty. Also, I think he was a bit afraid of the contact because of his poor free throw shooting. But now he is shooting well from the free throw, so he shouldn't be afraid from the contact, and he's not afraid from the contact. He strives for the contact. So I think that he's still searching for one or two clear go-to moves when things are going tough, and a lot of times he's just settling for strength shots. I do think that he lately developed some kind of a 2-foot pull-up semi-floater, like from 4 to 5 feet, that he tends to like make it. I'm not sure that he did it like even a double-digit number of times, but a lot of time when the paint is crowded, he just stops on a dime and just shoots like a one-handed and it goes in. So I think that maybe can be some kind of a thing that avoids like people waiting for him under the basket, because if he can like make it some kind of a thing that works, so that's a thing that I would say that we should take a hard look at it, because it can be something that he can rely on.
Definitely, yeah. So I mean, I think the ankle injury, I don't know if that affected him as well. I know that was a nasty injury last year. So yeah, I think he does need to get a go-to move and dunking it. I think he saw Tomas go up and dunk, and then it motivated him to go up and dunk. So I'm intrigued to see how he can finish, going through contact and just, developing the floater, using the backboard more. using some post up. So I do want to see how he works on that for the last 20 games of the year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've maybe it's. I feel like it's a mental thing sometimes. Just his simple things, simple layups at times that he'll miss, and maybe he's overcompensating or overthinking it, and it's just more simple than it actually is. But one thing I've said when me and Ed did an episode about what we want to see from some of the younger guys going into the end half of the season, I wanted to see Deni get more aggressive and attack the paint more, get to the free throw line more. He has shot the free throw ball better. So I want to continue to see him attack, dunk, try to dunk. Even if he misses, even if it gets blocked, just trying and attempting to dunk is something I love to see, because you'll get that poster. You never know. So I think a lot of it is mental with Deni because he has the size to do it. It's just all about doing it, actually doing it. We know, like you said, he has the work ethic to work on it, etc. It's something I feel like Deni will improve, especially as he gets stronger, as he gets older as well. So it's definitely a feat that I feel like Deni Avdija can improve on and will improve on. And our next question that we want to ask you is Deni at point guard. We know we've heard people in our comment section speak about Deni and playing some point guard. Do you feel like he's capable of playing the point guard position, even if it's in little spurts?
I think that he's not a full-time PG, like not for like 30 minutes a game,
Mm-hmm.
but for once in like 3, 4 possessions, I think he showed that he can do that. Especially, by the way, if he's pulling down the rebound and pushes the ball in semi-transition, because he has long strides and because he had great court vision. I think that unlocks a lot of things. Like I really see Deni running with the ball with Corey and or Bradley Beal in one place and Kuzma or KCP in the other, and just having like 3-on-2 situations. Deni will thrive. Deni is actually thriving in these situations right now, and he like giving him the freedom, because last year every time he was pulling down a rebound, he's like, if you're not, like Russ was glaring at him, if you're not passing me the ball in 3 seconds, I'm going to kill you. And now there's nobody to tell him that. So a lot of time he does get at least to pass the half court with this one, and we see that, and that's actually a welcome sight for our eyes. I think also for the Wizards fans in general. So not like a full-time point guard, but I do think that to unlock more of it, the Wizards should avoid having 2 ball handlers and the same lineup with him. For example, the Hawks game lately, where I broadcasted, they had both Ish and Satoransky on the court together, and the result was that Deni almost never touched the ball in those lineups, because like Satoransky is a good team player, but when you have both Ish and Satoransky, so there was less playmaking duties for Deni to have. And as you see, when he's getting the ball, both in drive and kick situations, both in 2-man game, both in isolations, his repertoire of passes is impressive. Both like the bounce passes, the behind the head, the over the head, the just everything that you can do. Every different pass you can do is there for him in the arsenal, and it's very refreshing to see a player this high, this long, is doing this one. And I think that in a minute, first of all, he had like every game, he had like 3 great passes that find open shooters, and they're not making it. So he can have like 3.5 assists per game over the last like 2-3 weeks. But also, there was a lot of times that because he didn't either play with these players in like if it's Anthony Gill or Porzingis or other players, or Bryant that was injured, or that players are not used to him carrying the ball. So a lot of time he gets great passes to players that are not ready for it. So you see that all the coordination between those two are not perfect, and it's clearly not 100% of the time Deni's throwing a perfect pass and the player just missed it. But there is some kind of they need to work at more to improve the filling out process of one another in this situation, and you can't do that without trying. And now he's trying, and they get some bad moments, they get some wonderful moments. And we saw the Porzingis alley-oop that you already mentioned, I think twice or thrice, which is like ideal Deni situation. He's getting the ball in semi-transition. He stops to like take a look and then drives, and then like one-handed pass to perfect alley-oop. And the whole Capital One Arena was in the clouds for after this one. I think that this specific thing is like, oh wow, that's how it can look when everything is clicking and working. And that was like a wow moment of the last couple of weeks in the moment.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to see with Deni coming into this season as well was just when he grabbed those rebounds, pushing the ball up. I know it was a little more tough doing that with Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook on the court, and those guys, demand the ball. Their usage is high, so it's like rebound and then pass it off to Russ. But now you see a little bit more of rebounding it, getting down court, trying to find that open guy. I definitely like him being a secondary playmaker from time to time. I don't think he can be a full-time point guard either, but in moments, definitely it can work. And when you have Ish Smith and Satoransky on the court at the same time, it definitely is a little tough. I'm not the fondest of that lineup either. I definitely want to see if you have Tomas Satoransky out there and have Deni out there next to him, that can work. Having too many ball handlers out there, I'm not too sure about that either. But in spurts, I definitely do like to see Deni Avdija playing that secondary ball handler role right there.
Yeah, definitely. I do like him bringing the ball, especially when he gets the rebound. The only concern is, he's 6'9", so the handle is still high, and those small, scrappy guards, they just get under him and they try to pluck the ball out. So that's the only thing I need to see him work on if he is going to play point guard for some spurts. But I definitely want to see them experiment. There's only 20 games left, so let's just see what they can do. Ish and Sato at the same time. It is tougher. You got a lot of guys who like to dribble and pound the ball a little bit there. But yeah, I do want to see him play a little bit of point guard in spurts. But I just want to ask you, how do fans in Israel view Deni's play so far? And how do fans in Israel feel about the direction of the Wizards, and their plans to give Bradley Beal the 5-year, $50 million or $246 million extension coming up this offseason, and Bradley Beal saying that it's fair that he will be taking that extension?
I think that Wizards fans love Deni, and Israeli are like, we're not. This is the only player that we have in the NBA these days. We're not kind of like French or Australian that we have like multiple guys to choose from. So Deni is very, very loved in Israel, and like whenever somebody doesn't pass to him, it's like it's the enemy of the state thing. I do think that Bradley Beal, like personally, not even I didn't like do a survey on this, but I do think that Bradley Beal, I'm not sure if he can be the 50 million guy for a contending team. No, he can be the perfect second option next to Joel Embiid. No, like according to reports to some other reporters, Joel Embiid wanted Bradley Beal before he wanted James Harden. So I think that Bradley Beal next to a big man can be the perfect complementary two guard for a contending team. But as the first option, I'm not sure. Now with Porzingis, you get an interesting situation because Porzingis was an all-star in his prime, and he was the best player on a team in his prime. This team was also not contending. So prime Beal plus prime Porzingis, they will earn next year, in this case, that they will give the Bradley Beal max about $80 million. Does this $80 million tandem brings you like into the playoffs in the East nowadays? I'm not sure. And I'm not sure that Bradley Beal, I think that if Bradley Beal could accept less than the max, like 5 million less, 10 million less than the max, that players don't tend to do these days. But let's try, let's dream, let's think maybe people will draw some inspiration from the San Antonio Spurs where people are taking less money to be better. So I think that paying Bradley Beal 50 mil a year will be a mistake by the Wizards, but maybe that's the only option that they have now, because letting him go for nothing, or like, I don't know, maybe he will take the option for next season and will stay, and then see what happens when Porzingis, if Porzingis can have a healthy season, and that's a big if. So I think that Bradley Beal had some rough moments with Deni, especially last year, but also this year as well. And he's not like particularly loved or admired in Israel. I think he's like, okay, when every player generally, when Deni and the player has good chemistry moments, I think the chemistry between Deni and Bill helped. I think that the chemistry between Deni and Kuzma is visible, and the friendship they have, the bond they have, is very, very important to if the Wizards want to build around Kuzma. So Deni is a part of the plan, and like this is something that we'll get to this maybe even. You know what? You mentioned the Philadelphia game, the Martin Luther King game, because I remember it was I had to, like, I have a Facebook community of like 20 grand people, and I had to do like some kind of an emergency declaration. Deni will be okay, because this game seemed like a watershed moment for him. And also, like, how many players in the NBA have played in all their games, all the teams' games this season? 6. Deni is one of them. He also dropped out in this Philly night. But I think that the fact that he was entered into the game with 2 minutes to go in a garbage time, and he played so professionally in these moments. He didn't like slacked, and he didn't go forcing his shots to get on the board. He just played regularly. I think in a way it kind of cemented his stature in Washington as a player that is not rattled by adversity. And this was a moment that was very important for him, in my opinion. So Bradley Beal will be all right if he will pass the ball to Deni, and if the Wizards will win enough. But personally, I think that he's not a player that's worth 50 million. He's a great player, a potential all-star, but not the best player on a contending team, in my opinion.
Yeah. In the words of Bradley Beal, I would say that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. I mean, you're a lot of Wizards fans over here in the States would agree with you. We've been hearing that all season. They're not too, chipper about them just tossing all this money at Bradley Beal. A lot of Wizards fans feel the same as you, as far as they don't think he's the best player on the contending team. They feel like he's a good secondary piece, as you said, to like a Joel Embiid. That would be perfect for him. So I can agree with you on that. I mean, 100%. I'm not too sure that they should give him all that money, but I mean, if he wants to stay, we all know the Wizards will give him that money. But our last question for you here: why should Wizards fans be optimistic about Deni Avdija's future?
I think that if you look about the next season, the Wizards, KCP will be under an expiring contract, which is not even fully guaranteed. And with all the respect of Deni as a first guy off the bench, I think that around Porzingis, which is not a good rim protector, he is a great shot blocker, but he's not like a natural born rim protector. Also not going out and pick and pop situation, pick and roll, is not a great defender in this situation. And with Bradley Beal let's assume that Bradley Beal is staying, and he has his well-known defensive deficiencies, so to speak. So around those two, you need to have 3 capable plus defenders in order for this team to be like at least a middle of the pack team, if not better for that. Because potentially, if you take, for example, Kuzma, Beal, Porzingis, this trio can net you 70 points a game with eyes blindfolded. I think, like, offensively, they're versatile. They can hit you in different ways. Porzingis can pop out. Kuzma can pop out. Bradley Beal can play post up because he's quite strong for a 2 guard. And around them, you need to have a switchy defender, which then fits the bill exactly. and you need to have a pass first point guard, in my opinion, because there are three scorers on this team. So if you can have like a not he's not in his prime and he's obviously injured, but if you can have a Ricky Rubio type player that can, on the other hand, be a point of attack defender, on the other hand, distribute the ball to the hot shooter. So this kind of a starting five is making sense in a lot of ways. And then, there's not enough player who can. There's at least 60% of the starting five can defend. At least 60% of the starting five can score. And with this kind of starting lineup, for me, Deni can have a great role, especially if his 3-point shooting is trending up to the 35%. So I think that this is a good place for optimism. Like if you even take a look on the three latest Shepherd picks. So Corey Kispert, we already know what to expect from him, which is basically shooting and not slacking on defense as hard as Bertans did, right? And you look at Hachimura, who also, by the way, improved his 3-point shooting drastically, and he's great in this manner, but he still can't like hold 30 minutes on the court. And I'm not trying to judge him. For example, we don't know what happened to him after the Olympic Games, and this can be, understandable to the highest degree. But being absent for half of your team's season, whereas you're a lottery pick on a rookie contract, I don't know what it makes of you in the long-term plans of the team. So I don't want to like insult him because he looks like a great guy. But out of these three, although Deni is the youngest, I think he's looked the one most ready to contribute to a winning team starting from next season. And I think that the best thing the Wizards can do is find KCP a home. He's a switchy 3-and-D guy that a lot of good teams will covet, and maybe it can, open the door for 10 to 15 million type point guard who can also defend and be a good complementary guy to Bradley Beal if he stays again. And this, if you take like this starting five, I think it can be exciting. I don't know if it's like a contending team, but it can be exciting. And if Porzingis is healthy, also a good team.
Yeah, I'm curious, and I'm happy to see what Deni Avdija can do his third year. I hope that he can have that jump. He may be tasked with starting at that 3 spot next season, and so with that comes more responsibility. He'll have a full off season, no injury stuff to worry about. Hopefully more of the COVID stuff is done with, and he has more of a full off season to work out and improve his game. It'll be. I'm interested to see, man. I can't wait to see what he has in store for his third season. Ed, any closing thoughts? Any thoughts on what was said?
Are you excited? Are you excited of Deni's future?
I am. Yeah, I definitely am.
I am optimistic. I like what I saw with him and Porzingis. I think they can work out. Him, Rui, and Kuz. I think they play really, really well together. Kuz has definitely taken him under his wing as well. And like you said, his dad is a good trainer, and you said he eats rubble and whatnot. So, and Deni had a 15 rebound game. That's hard to do. I mean, not a lot of people are able to do that. I think he's a really good rebounder. I think my bold prediction for the rest of the season was that he is going to get a triple double. And I've seen a lot of people compare him to like a Josh Giddey type. Josh Giddey's able to do that because he gets a lot more playing time. I do think there will be a game where Deni gets to have like a Josh Giddey type of game where he has like a triple double and goes out there and has like 10 points, 11 boards, and 10 assists. I do want to see that before. But Erin, definitely want to thank you for coming on. Is there anything that you want to shout out or plug?
Just first of all, thank you. It was great conversation for me. I hope you enjoyed it as well, because I enjoyed it a lot. And thanks for listening. You can follow me at Twitter. I'm Sorokman, SORROKMAN. We have a great podcast of Steve NBA. It's in Hebrew, so you probably won't be able to understand what we're doing, but we're saying that we have a lot of fun there. The Wizards have a great following in Israel nowadays. You earned dozens of thousands of new fans. And we just hope that Washington is a big city. Deni is a great kid, and I hope this can survive long term, and even help him. He can help them contend.
Definitely.
Yeah, 100%. Well, guys, I want to thank you all for making Locked On, which is your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On NBA. Locked On experts covering the biggest stories around the NBA every Monday through Friday in less than 30 minutes. It's free and available wherever you get podcasts. Well, Deni Avdija, everybody. We got a good 50 minutes for you. Terrific episode. And we'll see you guys next time.
Yep. Hell to the Wizards.